They thought it was just another fight, just another challenger stepping in with confidence, ready to prove something. The air was tense, eyes locked, and for a brief moment, it felt like time itself had slowed down. No one expected what was about to happen next. Then, in a blink, one move. Not a flurry, not a long exchange, just one precise, lightning-fast motion from Bruce Lee, and everything changed. The crowd fell silent, the opponent froze, and in that single second, power, discipline, and mastery revealed their true meaning. What looked simple was actually years of relentless training, focus, and control coming together in one unstoppable moment. The question is, what was that one move, and why did it leave everyone speechless? The atmosphere was thick with anticipation, the kind that makes every second feel heavier than the last. People gathered closely, forming a loose circle, their eyes fixed on the center where two figures stood facing each other. One was confident, almost overly so, carrying the energy of someone eager to prove a point. The other was calm, composed, and unreadable. Bruce Lee. There was no wasted movement in his posture, no unnecessary expression on his face, just a quiet intensity that hinted at something deeper beneath the surface. The challenger shifted his weight, trying to read him, trying to find an opening, but there was nothing obvious to exploit. It was as if Bruce Lee wasn't just standing there. He was completely present, aware of every breath, every twitch, every possibility. A murmur passed through the crowd as the tension continued to build. Some expected a dramatic exchange, a flurry of punches and blocks like they had seen in movies. Others leaned in, sensing that something different was about to unfold. Bruce Lee didn't rush. He didn't react to the noise, the pressure, or the expectations surrounding him. Instead, he waited. That patience alone was unsettling. It made the challenger uneasy, forcing him to act first. And when he finally did, when he committed to a move, stepping forward with speed and intention, that's when everything shifted. In a fraction of a second before most people could even process what was happening, Bruce Lee responded, not with multiple strikes, not with wasted energy, but with a single, perfectly timed movement. It was direct, efficient, and impossibly fast. To the untrained eye, it almost looked effortless, like nothing more than a simple gesture. But in reality, it was the result of years of discipline, repetition, and mastery over both body and mind. His timing cut through the attack like it had been predicted long before it even began. The impact wasn't just physical, it was psychological. The challenger froze, his confidence shattered in an instant. The crowd, which had been buzzing moments earlier, fell into complete silence. There was a collective realization spreading through them. They had just witnessed something extraordinary. Not because it was flashy or loud, but because it was so precise, so controlled, and so final. Bruce Lee stepped back into stillness as if nothing significant had happened. No celebration, no arrogance, just calm. That contrast made the moment even more powerful. It wasn't about dominance or showing off. It was about understanding, control, and execution at the highest level. The simplicity of that one move carried more weight than 100 chaotic exchanges ever could. And in that silence, everyone present understood that they had just seen the difference between someone who fights and someone who has mastered the art completely. From the outside, it looked almost too simple to be powerful. No dramatic wind-up, no exaggerated stance, no wasted motion. But what people didn't see, what most couldn't even begin to understand, was the level of precision behind that single movement from Bruce Lee. Every inch of it was calculated, every fraction of a second perfectly timed. This wasn't just speed. It was awareness, control, and efficiency combined into one seamless action. Bruce Lee didn't rely on brute force. His power came from understanding how the body moves, how energy flows, and how timing can turn even the smallest motion into something unstoppable. While others focused on strength, he focused on accuracy. While others prepared for long exchanges, he trained for decisive moments. That difference is what separated him from everyone else standing there. As the opponent made his move, there was a brief window, so small that most people would miss it entirely. But for Bruce Lee, that window was everything. He didn't hesitate. His reaction wasn't a reaction at all in the traditional sense. It was almost as if he had already anticipated the attack before it happened. His body moved instantly, without tension, without doubt. That level of responsiveness can't be faked. It comes from endless repetition, from pushing the body and mind to operate as one. The technique itself wasn't complicated, but that's what made it so effective. Complexity often slows people down, creates hesitation, introduces room for error. Bruce Lee stripped everything down to its core, removing anything unnecessary until only pure function remained. That's why his movements were so fast. They had nothing extra attached to them. No wasted energy, no second guessing, just direct action. There was also a deeper layer to it. Control. Not just control over his own body, but control over the situation itself. He dictated the timing, the distance, the outcome. Even though the opponent initiated the attack, it felt like Bruce Lee was the one in charge the entire time. That kind of dominance doesn't come from aggression. It comes from understanding. Understanding angles, rhythm, and the subtle cues that reveal what's about to happen next. The moment his move landed, it became clear that this wasn't luck or coincidence. It was the result of discipline built over years. Every training session, every repetition, every lesson had led to this exact level of precision. And because of that, what seemed like a small action carried immense power behind it. People often think power is loud and obvious, something you can easily see. But what Bruce Lee demonstrated in that instant was the opposite. Real power can be quiet, almost invisible until the moment it's unleashed. And when it is, it doesn't need multiple attempts or corrections. It just works, cleanly and completely, leaving no doubt about its effectiveness. For a split second after the move landed, it felt like the world had stopped. The energy that once filled the space, whispers, excitement, tension, vanished instantly. No one spoke. No one moved. Every eye was locked on what had just happened, trying to process it, trying to understand how something so fast, so simple, could completely change the outcome in an instant. The silence wasn't empty. It was heavy, filled with shock and disbelief. The opponent stood frozen, his confidence gone as quickly as the moment itself. Just seconds earlier, he had stepped forward with certainty, believing he could match or even overpower Bruce Lee. But now, that belief had shattered. It wasn't just the physical impact that stunned him. It was the realization that he had been outmatched before the exchange had even truly begun. That understanding hit deeper than any strike ever could. Around them, the crowd struggled to react. Some glanced at each other, silently asking if they had seen the same thing. Others leaned forward, replaying the moment in their minds, trying to break it down piece by piece. But there was nothing to dissect in the usual sense. It had happened, too quickly, too cleanly. There were no extra movements to analyze, no drawn-out sequence to follow, just one decisive action that ended everything before it could truly begin. What made the moment unforgettable wasn't just the speed or the outcome. It was the contrast. The build-up had been intense, filled with expectation and curiosity. People anticipated a clash, something dramatic and extended. Instead, they witnessed something precise and final. That contrast created a lasting impression, one that stayed with everyone long after the moment passed. And then there was Bruce Lee himself. While others were still caught in shock, he had already returned to calm. His posture relaxed, his expression unchanged, as if nothing extraordinary had just taken place. There was no need for celebration or acknowledgement. For him, this wasn't about proving a point or impressing a crowd. It was simply the natural result of his training and mindset. That quiet confidence spoke louder than any reaction ever could. The silence eventually broke, but the feeling remained. People began to talk, to question, to share what they had just witnessed. But the tone had changed. There was a sense of respect now, even from those who had doubted him before. In that single moment, perceptions shifted. What they once saw as skill, they now understood as mastery. And long after the crowd dispersed, the story of that moment continued to spread. Not because it was loud or flashy, but because it revealed something rare: how true precision, control, and discipline can redefine everything in just a matter of seconds.